Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Destiny 2. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and salutations. Today, more about Armor 2.0. Let's get to it. So yesterday, Bungie went over some of the aspects of the new Armor 2.0, as they're calling it. And today, I'm going to go over the information that they went over and do a deep dive without trying to get too tedious and in the minutia. So we'll see how that goes. All right, first of all, the Void subclass has been altered somewhat. Apparently for all the classes, Titan, Warlock, and Hunter, the Titan bubble now gives you weapons of light, in addition to armor inside the bubble. The Pathfinder Void subclass for the Hunter gives a synergy between melee and grenades. So when you do damage with a grenade, you get your melee back faster. When you make someone else on your team invisible, then you get your grenade back faster. Heart of the Pack plays a more important role, etc. Important to note that Glimmer Cap is going from 100,000 to 250,000. This, of course, is a good indicator that there is going to be a larger drain on your Glimmer in the future, starting October 1st with Shadowkeep. So instead of having that 100,000 cap, you're going to have a 250,000 cap, and it does make sense when we get into it. Now, all of the old armor, whether you get it from one of the vendors, whether you get it from Zavala or Shaxx, or if you go to Devrim K and get the armor from him, or you go to your collections page and pull one of your exotics out, they're all going to roll over to Armor 2.0. So if you had a favorite armor set or pieces from year one or from Escalation Protocol that you thought looked nice, but because it didn't have those perks that you weren't really interested in it, well, now you can go and get those. Bungie is putting more emphasis into the aesthetic of your armor as much as the power of your armor. Now in Armor 2.0, each of your pieces has 3 slots. One is a general slot and 2 specific slots. Now all the armor basically has the same mods that you see on the armor now, with a couple changes, and of course they've been kind of mixed around. So what used to be a mod that you would see on a helmet may be on the boots or the class item, etc. Now, having said that, there are changes specifically to ammo finder mods. Instead of having heavy ammo finder, special ammo finder, or primary ammo finder, now you have these broken down into specific weapon types. So now you have machine gun ammo finder, sniper ammo finder, linear fusion ammo finder. So instead of just having heavy or special, you have to look for actual specific types. Mod sources. How do you get these new mods? Now, one of the more important things to understand about the new mod system is once you get it or acquire it, however you acquire it, you keep it. So it is much more similar to a system where you're unlocking the mods versus having to acquire more and more mods to put on to your pieces. As a result of that, you should have more space in your inventory because you won't need the space in there for mods. It'll be slotted to specific armor pieces. So much like the Chalice doesn't have runes in your inventory slot, it only comes up when you pull that Chalice up and you're slotting different runes. This is going to be very similar to that, where you don't see it in inventory, but it'll be there when you need it. All right, so mod sources. The Gunsmith, Banshee, he will have mods to sell, and of course those will rotate every day. Turning in those weapon parts into the Gunsmith will eventually get you an engram, and those engrams have a chance of dropping a mod. Additionally, your regular legendary mods have a chance of getting mods. Now, there are certain mods, specific mods, and they didn't showcase all the mods that you'll have available in the game. Certain activities will yield special mods. So if you're looking for, especially, I would imagine the enhanced mods, you'll have to do certain activities in order to get them. So some mods you'll get from any activity doing anything, getting engrams or buying them from Banshee. Other ones you will only be able to get if you're doing things like the Nightfall, Iron Banner, the Raid, things that are considered endgame activities. And those will be the only way that you can get them. And this will give you a reason to do those things. Now again, this would appear to be an RNG subject. So you have a chance of getting it from doing certain activities. I don't believe there's going to be a guarantee if you do a Nightfall that you're going to get this mod. So again, you're going to have to grind it out. You're going to have to run Nightfall over and over again until you get that drop that you're really looking for, that you know comes from the Nightfall. And in the beginning, we won't know where the mods are going to come from. We can pretty well guess that the better mods, the enhanced mods, will only come from the endgame activities. There are two general types of mods. There are energy specific mods, so solar, arc, void, and then you also have generic mods. The generic mods can go on any armor piece, and then the solar mods can only go on solar armor. Void mods can only go on void armor. So not only do you have to get specific mods from doing specific things and of course rolling the dice and hoping you get the drop, but also getting that specific version of the mod, the solar, enhanced, unflinching, or enhanced loader, or what have you. So not only do you have to get the enhanced unflinching sniper, but you have to get 3 versions of it for solar, arc, and void. Armor stats are going from 3 stats to 6 stats. So currently the armor has mobility, resilience, and recovery, which of course modifies how fast you move, how much damage you can take, and how quickly you recover after taking damage. In addition to those 3 stats, you're also getting intellect, strength, and discipline, which for anyone playing Destiny 1 will remember those stats from there. So now you'll have 6 stats, and instead of being a 10-point scale, it's going to be a 100-point scale, and each tier occurs every 10 points. So if you have one of those 6 stats go up from 5 to 7, that actually isn't going to do anything for you until you hit 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and all the way up to 100. And then, of course, once you get to 100, any points beyond that are going to be wasted because that is the maximum level. So as a result, you can get a potential total of 600 points, 100 points in each stat. Now you'll notice that your class ability does not have its own stat, although there are mods to bring it back up. So it is very vague how much those mods actually help. Although the class ability, the dodge, the wall, the well, those all come back relatively quickly compared to your other abilities. So all the armor is going to be a range, potentially from 0, which I imagine you wouldn't have, all the way up to 150 points total spec for each armor piece. And of course, the class item does not have any. So 4 of your items have specs on it, and the class item does not, although that does have mod slots. Now the ones they showcased were somewhere in the 30 to 60 range, so you can imagine that is what you're going to see most often. Exotics, as a general rule, you would expect to have more total points in the armor, and I think that is what they're going to do. Now, if you're looking at the stats, the intellect, the discipline, the strength, the ones for your super grenade and melee, they all have a timer. So you can look specifically at those and say, if I get up to the next tier, how much is it going to decrease my cooldown? How more often am I going to get my super or my melee ability or my grenade? And if you're just looking at the stats going from tier 1 to tier 10, the melee ability has the shortest timer, starting around 1 minute 20 seconds at tier 1 and then going down to about 20 seconds at tier 10. The grenade is around 1.5 minutes and then goes down to right around 30 seconds. And the super starts at over 5 minutes, and then at tier 10 you're looking at about 3.5 minutes. Now, as a general rule, these stats, as you're adding points into it, each tier has diminishing returns. So although the first tier will give you the biggest decrease in your cooldown, each additional one will give you more of a cooldown decrease, but less than the previous tier. Now looking at mobility, resilience, and recovery, it's a little bit more vague because they only give percentages. So your mobility, each tier will give you about 4%. Resilience, you get an extra 1% to your shield. And then recovery, you get about 3% per level or per tier, and that is a 3% increase in your recovery speed. So mobility, you get a higher jump and faster speed, and they say it's 10% or 16% or what have you, depending on what tier you're on. And that just means you're 10% faster or 16% faster or whatever. Since you don't have a baseline to say how fast you're going or how much shield you have, that doesn't really tell you how much faster or how much more damage you can take. And 1% per level is not a huge increase in shields, but I certainly understand that they don't want you to be a little bit too tanky in any activity. Additionally, I think that certain activities, they probably modify those numbers a little bit, so they don't want to give you specific numbers for mobility, resilience, and recovery. There are new materials that you're going to have to grind and farm out in order to masterwork the armor. Now, I think the majority of players didn't spec into masterworking armor. They didn't care as much because they didn't see the benefit from it, whereas masterworking weapons, there was a huge benefit because you had orbs dropping, which would get your super back, which would proc those perks on your class item to either give you your melee, grenade, your class ability, cooldowns, or you would get health, etc. So picking up orbs, a big deal, which is why a lot of people would masterwork and look for masterworked weapons. Armor, not so much. They don't generate orbs. So what is the purpose of doing it? Now they're going to give you a purpose for masterworking, and that is giving you more energy for your armor. All right, so going back to materials, you're going to have enhancement prisms and ascendant shards, which anyone from Destiny 1 will remember ascendant shards, and also how difficult it was in the beginning to get ascendant shards, which also was used to upgrade your armor. Now you may have noticed that Banshee will be selling these, but it did not specify, and they did not specify what you'll need to do in order to trade in, or what you'll have to trade in order to get those items from Banshee. And of course, there are going to be specific things that you can do, activities, that will give you those items. Because of the rarity of the item and how important they are in masterworking, they of course are going to be more difficult to get a hold of. One of the big things that they did show briefly, but they did not talk about at all, are the artifacts and how that plays into and how that changes experience. Currently, when you get to the maximum level, you can continue to accrue experience and you can fill up that bar on your character screen. Once that fills out, you will get a bright engram. And of course, that is an Eververse item. You turn that engram in and you get some cosmetics. In the future, there may or may not be bright engrams. And here's why. Your power and bonus power is tied to experience. As you get experience throughout the season, your power for your account, so across up to 3 characters, will increase in power every time you hit a new tier, every time you get 55,000 experience. And of course, that number could change between now and October 1st. You get 1 tier, which gets you 1 bonus point of power. So even if you didn't get anything more powerful than what you currently have, and let's say you have all 750, each tier will get you 1 power level. So even if you don't use anything new, you can still bump up your power from 750 up to, I'm going to guess, 100 extra power during a particular season. And that is one of the changes that's coming to the seasons, is that your power will go up, but it may only go up an additional 100. And then when the season resets, your power is going to drop and you're going to have to start that process all over again. So instead of having Bungie up the power every season, as they have been doing from, 340, 380, 500, 550, 650, 750. What instead they're going to do, they're going to up your power to maybe, let's say, 900 for Shadowkeep, and then you can get an extra 100 bonus power from that artifact and from getting experience from playing the game, and then you'll be up to power level of 1000. Once the next season comes around, so sometime around December, you're going to lose that bonus and you're going to drop back down to 900. And then you're going to have to increase your power again over the course of a season. Now, this is extremely important and actually a little bit clever, because all the activities that you have been doing for the current season, as they get more into the end game, as they get harder, that power increase makes a big difference. When the season resets, you're not going to be able to do those end game more difficult activities because that bonus power is going to disappear and you're going to have to work to increase it again. So this is one method that Bungie is going to be using to keep activities relevant throughout the seasons and, of course, the difficulty throughout the seasons. And the artifact. They mentioned the artifact. They talked just very, very briefly about the artifact. And the artifact is going to give us a method of getting possibly some very rare mods later in the season as you're putting things into it. And of course, it is going to be a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle, not dissimilar to some of the other puzzles that they've given to us over the years, like the Chalice, like the Niobe Labs, things that you have to kind of think about. You have to play around with different combinations to see what happens, and it may or may not be a guarantee. So if you do a certain combination, you may not be guaranteed to get a specific item or whatever from using that artifact. Instead, it may do something different, or you may only have a chance of, or it may grab from a loot pool of several items. So even if you have exactly the same setup on your artifact as someone else, there's a chance you may not get the same item. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, and they spoke a couple times about, is fixed rolls. If you get something from collections, if you get something from a vendor, it's going to have fixed rolls. And what does it matter if it has fixed rolls if you can slot anything in it? It doesn't matter, does it? Well, kind of does. So every piece of armor has a certain point value and total, and how it's distributed throughout the 6 different traits. The fixed rolls are going to be lower than what you can get out in the wild. So if you pull an exotic from a collection, let's say the Shards of Galanor, you wanted to use that piece and you've not gotten it to drop, or you just want to use it and you worry about getting another one later on. So you want that 2.0, you pull it from collections, and you have it, but the point total is going to be lower than if you get it later on. So instead of getting 60 points throughout the 6 traits, maybe it's only 45. So this becomes an issue of how many points can I actually get total from different sources. So RNG is still going to play a factor in getting the armor. So you don't have to worry about the perks on the armor, but you do have to worry about the point totals and where the points are distributed in the item. So if you're looking to get a full set of Escalation Protocol armor and you're opening that box at the end, or you're pulling it from your collections and you get stats and it's going to be on a range. So maybe on the low end you have 35 points, and at the high end you have 65 points. That's 30 points. That's 3 tiers total between the 6 stats, or partial, more than likely, throughout the 6 stats. So extremely important how many total points you can get and where those points are at. So RNG is still going to play a huge role in Armor 2.0. So you don't have to worry about the perks so much. You can tailor the perks to your playstyle and how you're playing in the moment. However, the point total for the armor is going to change, and more than likely where you get the armor, the activity that you get the armor, will change that range as well. So whereas, say, EDZ armor, the Wildwood armor, is going to be 35 to 65, and most of the armor will be there. If you go into the new raid, the bottom might be 40 points between the 6 traits, and the top range might be 80. So certain armor sets may have an advantage over other ones. Only time will tell, and we'll see. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.